Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is, of course, Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is another manager update. We're going to sit down once again and talk about Everton's vacant managerial position, the latest news and rumours surrounding it. To be honest, it's been quite a quiet 24 hours in regards to the managerial stuff. Obviously, a couple of days ago we had all of the stuff surrounding Roberto Martinez and, whether or not he was going to be offered the Everton job. We then had a day where he'd been offered the Everton job. However, the Belgium FA had blocked the move, apparently. And then, of course, we had yesterday the news that Duncan Ferguson had been appointed as caretaker manager for the upcoming games, whatever that means. We can only assume that means, at least Saturday's game against Aston Villa. Well, it does, because it's been confirmed that he'll be in charge for at least Saturday's game against Aston Villa. But how long that period will be for is to be decided and to be found out, I suppose. And yeah, as I said, it's been quite a busy few days, certainly a busy few days for the live streams and the news and the updates, and we've had various different bits of news coming left, right and centre. But in the last 24 hours, we haven't had an awful lot of it. We have had a bit of news that I expected to come, to be perfectly honest with you, and that was that Everton were considering José Mourinho as an option to take over from Rafael Benitez. I think I literally sat here less than 2-3 days ago and said that, it's very, very clear that, Roberto Martinez is Bill Kenwright's choice, and Roberto Martinez is Bill Kenwright's preferred candidate because he's a dead lovely fella. He's worked with him before, and that's all that matters to Bill. He's not really bothered about the future of Everton. He's just bothered about, whether the fella's a nice fella or not. However, I think I sat here and said we haven't really seen a candidate that you sit back and you go, yeah, that's a Farhad Moshiri, move. That's a Farhad Moshiri candidate. That's the big Hollywood name that Farhad Moshiri would typically go for. The likes of Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, Roberto Martinez, even the likes of Graham Potter don't really fill that list. And then obviously we spoke towards the end of yesterday's live stream about the news that Everton were considering José Mourinho to come in as the new Everton manager. In fact, we'll go back to yesterday just to catch everybody up. There was a report in from Alan Myers saying that Roma manager José Mourinho is under consideration to become the next Everton manager. And then I think we had another report not so long after from the Telegraph saying that Farhad Moshiri and business partner Alisher Usmanov appear to be working through a long list of renowned football figures in hope of finding a suitable candidate for the Everton job. As I said, I absolutely knew José Mourinho's name would come up because he is that Hollywood name. He's that manager that would certainly bring attention to the football club. But he is, again, in very similar vein to Roberto Martinez. He's exactly the type of manager that I don't think Everton need. And I'm not saying he's not a good manager. Obviously, José Mourinho is one of the best football managers ever to have lived. And, 10 or 15 years ago, he was absolutely unbelievable. And, you would have been shocked at the suggestion that Everton were even mentioned in the same conversation as José Mourinho 5 or 10 years ago. But the reality of the situation is we're not 5 or 10 years ago, and José Mourinho has got very, very little experience to none of working with a side in the current situation that Everton are in at the moment. Certainly not much recent experience working with a side that are in a relegation zone, and let's be honest, staring down the battle of the Championship if we don't start picking up wins. Another thing that José Mourinho is as well, which I think is a really important point to bring up, is he's a divisive character. He's somebody that at his last 2 Premier League clubs has caused a lot of division within the club, between the players, between the fans, because that's the type of character that he is. We saw it at Chelsea for years. He was some of his most successful times at Chelsea. He was known for, his match interviews after games where he'd come out and he'd say certain things and he wouldn't answer certain questions, and he was a feisty character, and I'd say probably one of the first in the Premier League era to really stand up to journalists and very sort of quick to remind everybody about how successful he's been. We've seen the Paddy Power advert, which obviously I'm well aware is a skit, however is very similar to how I can imagine José Mourinho to be in real life. We saw the Tottenham documentary, where he fell out with a couple of players there as well. So, my point is for as good of a manager as José Mourinho may be, or for as good as a manager as José Mourinho certainly was, it's just not the right man for this time at Everton Football Club. He's not the right man for this job. As I've said, we need somebody that's going to come in, galvanise the club, have everybody, you know, singing off of the same hymn sheet, working towards the same, you know, goals, fighting, battling, you know, you know, showing that passion, showing that desire. We don't need another manager that's going to come in and fans are going to fall out with, or players are going to fall out with, because we know, you know, I know we've spoke a lot about Rafa Benitez and his poor tactics, and I know we've spoke a lot about the managerial appointments over the last 24, 48 hours or so, but let's be honest, these players have down tools for many a manager before, and we know that if a manager comes in and he makes certain decisions, or he has a certain something to say, or he maybe disagrees with a certain player, then, you know, again, this squad of players is well within its capability to just turn on a manager and say, no, I'm not doing what he wants, I'm not doing what he asks, I don't trust him. And again, that's exactly the type of situation we don't want to be in at the moment. And to be honest with you, I'm quite happy that José Mourinho has dismissed any sort of rumour or report that Everton would be interested in him, and said that he's committed to his job at Roma, because, as I said, I think this would be another absolutely disastrous appointment. You know, if it was July and it was the start of a new season, and we were in the hope, or we were in the, you know, the lookout for a new manager, and the club were, you know, we're choosing José Mourinho as a potential candidate, I still wouldn't particularly want José Mourinho, but I'd look at it and go, okay, well, it's less of a risk. He's been very successful before. You can tell why the coach would want him. You can tell why the owner would want him. You know, obviously, again, he is a Hollywood name. You know, we all think back to that video when Roberto Martinez was sacked, coincidentally, of the fan outside the Wembley, saying we want Mourinho, and maybe Farhad Mashiri's watched that video and thought that it was from, you know, the game against Norwich literally 2 weeks ago. The reality was it wasn't. It was from, you know, 5-6 years ago, and a lot has changed in that time. i.e. he's managed Manchester United, and if it ended badly for him there, and he's managed Tottenham and it ended badly for him there as well. So you know, as I said, you know, there's absolutely no doubt in José Mourinho's credentials as a football manager. You know, I've got no position to sit here and criticise him as a tactician, as a football manager, because of, you know, what he's won in his career and how successful he's been. But I also have got this feeling that José Mourinho maybe has fallen into the same, you know, path as what maybe Rafa Benitez has fallen into, and that is that he maybe hasn't adapted very well to modern day football. You know, 10, 15 years ago, as I said, if Everton were mentioned in the same breath as José Mourinho, you'd be thinking, what's going on? This would be a great appointment. Now, a lot has changed in football, and I just don't think José Mourinho would be the man that would come and save Everton in this situation that we were in. Imagine him coming in and making a controversial decision, which he's been known to do in the past. Within the first 2 weeks, we lose a couple of games, and as I said, we're already staring down the battle of relegation, and we don't need anything to make that worse. For me, I've said it on numerous live streams over the last 24, 48 hours, pretty much since Sunday night when Rafa Benitez lost his job. I personally think there's only one man to take this club forward, certainly in the short term, at the very, very least, and that for me is Duncan Ferguson. Duncan has obviously been given it on a you know, a caretaker basis for the next couple of games, or the next set of fixtures, whatever that means. You know, the club haven't really been, you know, they haven't really been clear with what they mean by that. You know, they haven't come out and said Dunk will take charge of Villa, or Dunk will take charge until the international break. They haven't really been, you know, clear in what and how long Duncan Ferguson will be taken over for. But I suppose, as me and Frank spoke about last night, this is an opportunity for Duncan now to almost have an interview that none of the other candidates will have, and that is an interview of proving that on a match day and on the pitch that, you know, he can be the man to take us forward. You know, any other candidate that interviews for the job, whether it be Wayne Rooney, whether it be Frank Lampard, whether it be, you know, I don't know, Roberto Martinez, let's hope it's not, but any other potential candidate won't have the opportunity to manage Everton Football Club, you know, prior to being given the job. The first time they'll manage Everton is when the decision is being made. So this is a fantastic opportunity, certainly on Saturday, for Dunk to turn up against a side that a lot of people are raving about. A lot of people are thinking of the next big thing in Aston Villa, a young manager themselves in Steven Gerrard. It's a big opportunity for this Everton team and Dunk to turn up and show that, you know what, he is the right man to take us forward, and these players have got to be a part of that as well. If these players want Duncan Ferguson as the manager, they've got to run through brick walls for him on Saturday, and they've got to work 110% and work their hardest. And do you know, if they do, I think we'll win on Saturday. And if we win on Saturday and then Dunk gets Brentford in early February and then we beat them and all of a sudden we're 3 points higher in the Premier League and, we're we're in the next round of the FA Cup, maybe the board will look at the situation a little bit differently. You've had Jamie Carragher, who was on Toffee TV earlier today, saying, just give it to Dunk until the end of the season. And some people might say, well, I'm not listening to Jamie Carragher. Why should we listen to Jamie Carragher? But there's ex-Everton legends, Neville Southall, Trevor Stevens, players like that who have won, being, the most successful Everton team, players from the most successful Everton side are coming out and saying, give it to Duncan Ferguson. You've got ex-Everton managers in Sam Allardyce, who, as I said yesterday, could have easily come out and said, take me, I'm a master at this type of situation, I'm brilliant at this, pay me again, but he didn't. He said, give it to Duncan Ferguson. You've got players who've been at the club recently, in Yannick Bolasie, who have said, give it to Duncan Ferguson. Didn't need to. The club bombed Yannick Bolasie out because of his injury record. He didn't need to come out and say anything about Dunk, but he obviously had that good of a relationship with him and feels Dunk has that good of a relationship with the players that that he's the right man to take us forward. And ultimately, as I said, these players have got to turn up on Saturday and show that they will fight for Dunk and show that they will play for Dunk. And if they won't play for Duncan Ferguson, then who will he play for? If they won't give it 110% for Duncan Ferguson, then who will he give it 110% for? We know that Rafa Benitez wasn't the only problem with the football club. We know that the problems lie, much higher at this football club from board level, but they also lie on the pitch as well. There's certain players at this football club that I just don't think deserve to be here or should be here, through various different reasons. Some because they're not good enough, others because they're simply not arsed enough. And, as I said, if Duncan Ferguson, an Everton legend, somebody who lives, breathes Everton Football Club, somebody who knows what it's like to stand on that pitch and give it 110%, if the players aren't going to work for Dunk, then I honestly think who will he work for? And that's why I think Dunk is the right man. Dunk is the right man, at least in the, in the interim. I know some people have said, well, Rooney is similar because he's an Evertonian and he's had a bit more experience. Yeah, but the reality is Dunk has been around this squad for obviously much longer than Wayne Rooney has. In fact, Wayne Rooney hasn't been around this squad at all. So whilst he's had experience as a manager and doing extremely well, by the way, let's give Wayne Rooney credit where it's due. He's doing fantastically in such a difficult situation at Derby. That's fine, but he hasn't had experience with this group of players. He doesn't know who the knobheads are, for lack of a better phrase, who turn up on a Monday and say, I had an headache 6 weeks ago, I don't want to play this weekend. He doesn't know who the players are that are willing to give it 110%. He doesn't know, he doesn't know the squad inside out, whereas Duncan Ferguson does. He's worked with them for longer than anybody else has. And as I said, for me, it's a simple decision, but it's obviously not a simple decision for the Everton board, because Farhad Moshiri's probably looking at it and thinking Duncan Ferguson doesn't, make my billionaire friends say, wow, oh my God, I can't believe you've got Duncan Ferguson, whereas somebody like a Jose Mourinho would. I don't really think Roberto Martinez would, so that still confuses me, but Jose Mourinho certainly would. But anyway, let's get on to the Mourinho situation, because there's absolutely little point in talking about it without any context, is there? As I said, there was a report on Sky Sports from Alan Myers yesterday evening as to say that Everton are considering Jose Mourinho for the vacant managerial post. And then literally, pardon me, I've just been to boxing, so the chest is a little bit tight. Literally, not even an hour later, Sky Sports also reported that Jose Mourinho is committed to the job he has begun at Roma and will not consider any offer from Everton at the moment. Now, this was also reported just before the news that Everton were interested in Jose Mourinho. I think early yesterday afternoon, it was reported that Jose Mourinho is happy at Roma and committed to Roma, and has basically given them his word that he would stay there and he would see out, at least this season and whatever, happens beyond then, and that was at that point sort of just a rumour that we were reading, and I was thinking, I hope that is true, I really, really do. And when I seen that report from Sky Sports yesterday, I was over the moon, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Again, nothing against Jose Mourinho personally, and I know Jose Mourinho is a fantastic manager and historically has been a wonderful manager and one of the most successful, as I said, ever to have lived. But the reality is he'd be the wrong person at this time to take over at Everton, and it wouldn't work. And again, he's another very big character who has been known in the past to be divisive and fall out with players and fall out with staff, and that's just not what we need. We don't need any more division. We don't need another manager who's going to come in and, you know, fall out with everybody. And whilst I think Duncan Ferguson will know who the idiots are at the football club that need to leave, whether that be the playing staff or whether that be people higher up at the football club, Duncan Ferguson will also know that, first and foremost, we need to win football matches, because we are literally staring down the barrel of the Championship football. So he will know that whatever issue he may have with anybody else, and Dunk mightn't have an issue with anybody, but I would hope that Dunk, being the true blue that he is, I would hope that he has got an issue with certain people at the football club, because he should have. And if he does, I think Dunk will understand that, right, okay, my job is to manage the football club, and I need to, you know, if he was to get it, that is, and my job first and foremost is to make sure that we start winning games of football, and Dunk will know that, and Dunk will understand that. Dave Toffee has donated £4.99 to the live stream. Thank you very much, Dave, really appreciate it. He says, I hope they give Dunk a go till the end of the season. Thanks, Cam, lad, we all appreciate the quality you keep putting out. Thank you very much, Dave, really appreciate that, and really appreciate the donation, mate. I do as well. I do as well. I really hope that they give it to Dunk. I really do. And as I said before, this is a big opportunity for Dunk. You know, he gets a second bite at the cherry. You know, he gets a second go at it, and this time is a time when, you know, when you think about when Dunk took over from Marco Silva just before Carlo Ancelotti, you know, there was a few Blues who were putting his name in there to take over permanently, especially after that game against Chelsea. But most Blues were, and even Dunk himself come out and said, no, you know, we want the best manager for the job, and if a world-class manager comes available, then we want to go for him, and that's exactly what happened. The world-class manager come available. And then, strangely enough, when Carlo left and we were in this, you know, 8-week search for a new manager last summer, again, Duncan's name wasn't really brought up an awful lot. A lot of Blues were sort of saying, no, this isn't the right time for Duncan, this, that and the other. I'd say it was maybe split, maybe 60-40, probably against, or maybe even 50-50 for, you know, split as to fans that were willing to give Dunk a chance and fans that wanted somebody else. Now, obviously, the last 6 months has been a massive slap in the face for Evertonians. We were hit with Rafael Benitez. Everything that we thought could go wrong did go wrong, i.e., you know, losing games of football, them lot over the road screaming and shouting and singing his name, in making silly decisions, not being good enough to manage the team. And now we're in a situation where I honestly do feel like the percentage of Evertonians that want Duncan Ferguson are in the 90s. And that is something that the board ultimately can't ignore. And if Duncan go out there on Saturday and get a performance out of these players, by the way, who lost to Norwich last week and were absolutely atrocious, if he can go out there and get a tune against the decent Aston Villa side managed by another young, hungry manager in Steven Gerrard, and then we go into, you know, the FA Cup game and there's an international break in there and you win the FA Cup game, then maybe Moshiri will look at it and go, no, do you know what, this is the right time. Because a lot of Blues, I think, are sort of feeling, right, this is the time for Duncan now. I can't see past it. I don't see. For me, it's a simple decision. And I'm not a part of the board. I'm not a multi-billionaire businessman. I'm not really sure how far Moshiri is either, but I'm not a multi-billionaire businessman. I'm not, you know, the chairman of Everton Football Club. But if it was me, Dunk would have been appointed literally on Sunday night at 5 o'clock. When was Benitez sacked? 3 o'clock? Dunk would have been in on an interim till the end of the season at 5 o'clock. Because you look at the options out there, the names out there, and there simply isn't a world-class manager out there. So we were in this situation last time with Dunk and Carlo Ancelotti come available, and if somebody of that ilk become available now, it would be a different discussion, wouldn't it? If a Simeone or a, you know, Guardiola or whoever, and, you know, again, massively unrealistic, but if any of those types of managers come available, you'd be sitting there going, do you know what? You know, maybe this is right for the club, but they're not. We're talking about Roberto Martinez. We're talking about Jose Mourinho, who has ruled himself out, but again, his last 2 stints in the Premier League weren't successful. We're talking about managers who, you know, are either Slaven Bilic's name is thrown in the hat, Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, risks. So we're not talking about a list with a world-class manager on. We're talking about a list with very few names on, and every name being a risk. Duncan is the least of a risk, is the last risk for me, or sorry, he provides the lowest risk out of pretty much every name on that list. You know, can anybody else tell me a name that Everton have been linked with? Maybe Graham Potter, but let's be honest, that's a dead link because he's already come out and said, I'm not going anywhere. But can anybody tell me a name of a manager that Everton have been linked with that you look at and go, they're less of a risk than Duncan Ferguson? Because I don't really know. Maybe some people will say Kovac because he's managed Bayern Munich and done very well with Bayern Munich in the first season. But again, second season it didn't go quite well for him and he was sacked fairly quickly. Again, I believe he's another manager who's been known to be quite regimental in the way that he does things. And maybe Duncan will be like that as well, and maybe that's what Everton need. But, you know, ultimately, as I said, for me, it's a simple decision. But I am still worried. Because, you know, we're sitting here now and you've got Lampard and Rooney and Duncan and these names that keep coming up. We will get in the live comments very shortly, by the way. Massive thanks to everybody for getting in the live comments. If you are watching live and you're enjoying, please hit that like button. Don't forget to get your thoughts in the comment section down below. That would mean a massive amount to me as well. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That would be absolutely fantastic and would mean a massive amount to me. And big thanks for all of the support on the recent content, by the way. The likes, the views, the subscriptions that we've had over the last 4 or 5 days or so have just been absolutely, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, so again, thank you all so much for all of the support. It means a massive amount to me. You know, Semi says spot on. Cam, have even heard Nuno's name again? Exactly, Nuno. He lasted literally about 14 minutes at Tottenham. In fact, I don't even think he'd finished unpacking all of his stuff before he had to repack it again to get out. What makes him more qualified to take over Duncan in this exact situation? I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyway, as I said, the thing that worries me, and I am worried, and I am sat here still a little bit concerned, because the reality of the situation is that both of the managers, or two of the managers that Everton have seemed to go for, yes, okay, you take the rough with the smooth, Graham Potter, the club, I don't know where, we're not, where, let's say for argument's sake, the club were interested in Graham Potter. He come out and said very quickly, I'm happy here at Brighton. Pardon me. I'm happy to stay here. And that's fine, because Graham Potter would have been an absolutely fantastic appointment. And I would have loved Graham Potter. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. Let me clear my throat. There you go. Sorry about that. I would have absolutely loved Graham Potter. He would have been a fantastic appointment. I think he's a manager who has really sort of guided Brighton over the last couple of years from a side that were fighting relegation to now a side that are comfortably sitting, I think, 9 points above Everton, 8 points above Everton, something like that. So Graham Potter for me is a very, very good manager, and I'd love him at Everton Football Club. So fair play. Let's say, in argument's sake, the club approached Graham Potter and he said no because he's happy where he is. Fine. However, the only reason Roberto Martinez isn't the manager of Everton Football Club, by all accounts at the moment, is because of the Belgium FA. Now, I know that deal wasn't close to being done, or that deal, you know, was maybe not as close as suggested, but if suggested by a lot of the mainstream media, the likes of The Athletic, very reliable, the likes of Fabrizio Romano, very reliable. If it wasn't for the Belgium FA stepping in and saying, no, we want him for the World Cup, and if it wasn't for Roberto Martinez having a pre-agreement or some form of agreement with the Belgium FA to commit to that, then I firmly think he'd be the Everton manager by now. So I can't sit here and go, the board have made the right decisions, or the board are looking at it and looking at it up, because I look at it and think, well, if it wasn't for the Belgium FA stopping the Martinez deal, we'd probably have Martinez. If it wasn't for Mourinho coming out and saying, I'm happy here, I think we'd have chased Mourinho a lot more than what is being reported, because he's that Hollywood name that we all know Farhad Moshiri loves to have at a football club, and has, you know, he literally employed Rafa Benitez going against pretty much every Evertonian and a lot of, again, ex-players and people around him. He appointed Rafa Benitez because he was a name. He'd won Champions Leagues 15 years ago. He was somebody that people known. That he was somebody that people were aware of and knew of. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility to suggest that if Jose Mourinho hadn't ruled himself out of this, that Everton wouldn't go for Jose Mourinho more than what maybe they have. And I said it yesterday, and I say it again today, I'm still not convinced that the Martinez deal is dead in the water, to be honest with you. I think Roberto Martinez might go back on his word with Belgium, and even if it meant Bill Kenwright giving him a bigger contract than what Everton wants, I think Bill is just that arsed about having somebody in there that he knows and he likes, that he'd probably do that. So, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if Everton tried to employ me dad as manager, to be perfectly honest with you, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we wake up one day or we log onto our phones one day and we see Martinez's name propping up again. But for now, that's out the way, and so is the Mourinho stuff, which is good news, because I think those two, again, no disrespect to them, José Mourinho, world-class manager in his day, and won an awful lot, very successful, and I'm sure Roberto Martinez is the nicest fella in the world, but neither of them are the right managers for Everton at the moment. And again, if the board had looked at them and come to that conclusion, I'd say, fair enough. The board have looked at the two managers, they've concluded that they're not the right people for Everton, and we've moved on to other candidates. But they haven't really done that, have they? They've looked at them, certainly in Martinez's case, not Mourinho, maybe not Mourinho's case because it's only a rumour, but certainly in Martinez's case, they've looked at them and certainly, looked at Martinez, and they haven't been able to get him, so they've had to move on. Or Bill hasn't been able to get what he wanted, so he's had to move on. And I don't want this to get to a situation where Dunk gets it because he's the only one left. I don't want to get to a situation where the club make another stupid decision, which is very within the realms of possibility, i.e. employing somebody like Slaven Bilic or somebody stupid like that, Nuno Espirito Santo, just because he's the only one left on the list and he's not Duncan Ferguson, because that would be ridiculous. Even Frank Lampard, I look at it and I think, okay, he had a good season at Chelsea, done well at Derby. I'd rather have Duncan Ferguson. I think Duncan is more of what we need at the minute than what Frank Lampard is. So, again, I'm really, really fearful of this Everton board. I'm really fearful of the decision that they will ultimately make, because I wouldn't put it past them to get to a point where we're all sitting here thinking, right, it's got to be Duncan, because Wayne, let's make up a magical imaginary world. Let's say Wayne Rooney turns around and goes, no, I'm not interested. I want to stay at Derby because I want to see out this and I'm committed to this sound. Let's say Kovac says, no, not interested, don't want to join, I'm on holiday, or I'm not interested in taking the job. Sound. Let's say Lampard says, no, do you know what, I'm going to, enjoy my last couple of months, and maybe I'll go into, as before the end of the season, and maybe I'll go back into management in the summer. Okay. And we're all sitting here saying, Dunk then, it's got to be Dunk. Surely it's Dunk. It's Dunk. And then the club come out and appoint somebody like Nuno, or somebody else that you're looking at and thinking, we haven't even been linked with them, but they're clearly the only person left, because that would just be, A, massively disappointing and disrespectful for Dunk, but B, just a nonsense decision, because the decision is there. I mean, Duncan Ferguson has done an interview with Everton FC.com today, and by the way, the Everton admin is loving this, by the way, absolutely loving it. He's done an interview today. He said about the players. He was asked what should Everton players expect to give when they come to Everton, what should they expect, and he said they should give everything. They should run themselves into the ground, they should roll up their sleeves and fight for the club in every single game. That's exactly what we need at this club. And I know it's only something simple, and you might say, Cam, you're overreacting. It's just something simple. That's what we need. So, again, listen, I'm banging the Dunk drum, and I know a lot of people will say, oh, you're boring now with it, but he, Dunk's who I want. I'm not saying I wouldn't be happy with other people. I would get behind whoever comes in, and there's other managers there that I would think, you know what, that's okay. But Dunk is who I want, at least until the end of the season, and then you can reevaluate in the summer. And maybe somebody like a Graham Potter will be more open to coming in the summer if Dunk has stabilised the club and we're looking a little bit better. Other rumours, we will get in the live comments, by the way. In fact, let's get in the live comments now before we go into the other rumours, because people are itching to it, and there's loads of comments. Thank you very much. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing as well. Tickles says, good. What's happening, mate? I assume that's in response to the title of the live stream. Dave says, hi, you Cam up the top. He says, right, and Everton fan talks about says, hi, Cam. I don't think anyone wants a Mourinho, to be honest. Yeah. Same, and Mourinho didn't want Everton either, so mutual. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. I had an idea of what I can have for my tea before, and I've completely forgot about it. Oh, what a nightmare. What a nightmare. Gareth says, I can love the late videos as I can watch these live. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is something that I've been experimenting with over the last couple of days, and I've found that the later you do a live stream, the more interaction you get, the more people you get getting involved. Sometimes 5 o'clock time is a little bit too early for people. People are still working, or people are on their way home from work, or people are, going to get the kids from school, or sometimes it's a bit of a, it's a touch and go time where, people aren't just available. Where as like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, most people are chilled by then. Not everyone, obviously. People work late, and some people work, long hours and long shifts, and that's fine. But a lot more people are settled and at home and chilling. And, this is the time where people are just on their iPads or on the phones or on the computers. So I do thank every single person for coming along and watching. And even if you're just watching, you don't get involved in the chat, I do thank you all so much. And even Sunday night, literally a Sunday night, when it's no bank holiday, it's no special day, we had like 260, 70 people watching on a Sunday night at 12:30 at night, which just still baffles me to this day. It's unbelievable. So it's all down to everybody who's watching. It's nothing to do with me. I just come and chat shit and tell you what I think. It's all down to people getting involved and growing the channel. So thank you all so much. Jason says, hi Cam, hi everybody, hi my mate, hope doing well. And Anders says, maybe the board should catch the hint that no one is agreeing to manage the club as we're in a dire situation. Yeah, probably, yeah. Richarlison and DCL on target, insane, and says, Eugene Doswick says, hi Cam, hi imaginary internet friends. No, they're real people. Gareth says, big dunk, audition to the end of the season. If he goes well, he gets the job. If he doesn't, at least we'd have 5 months to see, and at that time to make the right appointment. Yeah, spot on. But no one Everton, they'd probably just wait until the last game of the season and then go, oh shit, yeah, we could do with having a look at some of the managers here if it didn't go well. They wouldn't plan, because why would Everton plan? Jason says, Jose would have been a bad fit. He always wants a ready-made squad, which would cost money, and he doesn't play youth. Yeah, the things that would just get underneath Everton fans at the minute. It wouldn't take much to wind Evertonians up at the minute, would it? Let's be honest. And I think Jose Mourinho, no disrespect to him, but I think he could do that very, very easily. And that's just not what we need. We've just had a manager who could do that very easily. It's not what we need. Greeting fellow Blues, says Semi, says I can. Jose Mourinho, no. Good one, mate, good one. Dosbick says he was shit at Spurs. Why would we settle for someone who failed at Spurs and sort of didn't really succeed? That's what I think. The Man United thing, I think, well, listen, Man United standards are very different to Everton standards. And I get that. I get Man United. Didn't he win an FA Cup at Man United? Maybe even a Europa League. If he come to Everton and done that, then he'd be a massive success, of course. So the Man United stuff, again, I don't really pay too much attention to. I pay more attention to the toxicity around Manchester United when he was coming to the end of his Man United career. That is more of a telltale to me than what he actually achieved at Man United. But the Spurs thing, I think you're right. Spurs are not a bigger club than Everton. They've just got a new stadium. So if he went to a club that I would argue is not as big of a club as Everton and not much better in current circumstances and situations, and failed, then where's the excitement around him coming to Everton? He's at Roma as well. He's still in a job. Let's not forget, he's not out of a job. He's still in a job. Goody be a disaster, says Phil. No way, Jose, says Tazul. Will Mashiri ever learn? Belter. That's just a belter. That if anything deserves a like, that deserves a like, doesn't it? Doesn't want the job, that's fine. Who's asked to have him anyway? Phil Budd said Everton fans who want Mourinho, none. Literally in the negative, Phil. An Everton fan falls out, says Mourinho would fall out with Dom and Richie and sell him to Villa and play Rondon and Tosin. Tazu says big Duncan Baines until the end of the season. Give them a chance to prove they're worthy. Semi says Duncan to finish the season, then consider all your options. Simple as, yeah. I agree. Adam says, evening guys, what's happening, mate? Azul says, if only it was that simple for our dysfunctional board. It's a pretty simple decision in my opinion. It is a fairly simple decision, but I'm not on the Everton board, am I? Gareth says that fan outside Wembley was a pal of mine. Washy, good lad, but a total loon. He's right, mate, he's right. Mozza says, alright, Cam and guest, even and everyone, just me today. I aware the thumbnail says it, but just me. Yeah, it's Everton, we'll bottle it like we always do, says Semi. Callum says, even if Mourinho did consider coming to Everton, I wouldn't take him, same, mate. And he says, don't blame him and Everton season ticket holder, we're a mess, we are. Hernandez says, to play devil's advocate, what happens if Dunk fails? I know he did well, but he either does well but the fans will run him out the club as we do to players and staff times. I think if Duncan Ferguson come in and failed, and by failed, it would be, a lot of fans would have different opinions in what somebody like Dunk would be classed as failure. But I think even if it got to the worst of it and it become evident he needed to leave, and the majority of Evertonians agreed with that, I don't think it would be as toxic as it is with other managers. I don't think it'd be a case of chasing him out the club. I think it'd just be a case of saying, thank you very much. It hasn't worked, and you're still an Everton legend. We'll still love you. It didn't really work. A little bit like, I was going to say, Solskjaer at United. A lot of fans did get toxic towards Solskjaer, but that's because a lot of Man United fans don't really know what it's like to be a Man United legend. He done an interview after it, and a lot of Man United fans were still very much saying, thank you for your time, sorry it hasn't worked out, but we need to move on. And he had said that himself. So I don't think it would be as toxic as other managers failing or leaving the club. But I could be wrong. He won't leave Roman unless he sacks us, Callum. I hope they keep him forever. Tazul says Mourinho was a dinosaur. Will says Dunk till the end of the season. It has to be to bring in a director of football and actually let him do his job for once. Put his own stamp on the club. We're crying out for this. Yeah, and Mozza says, watch Duncan's training yesterday. Wanted to get me boots out, buzzing for him. Yeah, same mate, same. It was boss, wasn't it? It was absolutely boss. Tuesday Delaney says, I was listening on Sunday. It was brilliant. Thank you very much, my mate. Apparently Leicester are winning 2-1, which is interesting. Wazza in, says Pokey. I'd have Rooney. I'd rather Dunk, I think, but I'd have Wayne Rooney. Nolta Martinez says Everton FL. Holly says, hopefully Dunk makes us solid and sacks that zonal mark and malarkey off. Yeah. What is the plan, says Ash? Your guess is as good as mine. And Dave says, the longer this goes on without decision, the more I think you're right on what you said on Toffee TV. Dunk might know too much. If that's true, then it's worrying and incompetence on the board. Well, yeah, listen. As I said, who knows why they haven't given it to Dunk yet. I know they've given it to him on an obviously a temporary caretaker basis, but again, for me, it was a simple decision to give it to him till the end of the season. So, listen, who knows? It's only it's speculation, isn't it? It's speculation. And Semi says, love these late streams because I can get into them always at work for the early ones. Thank you very much, mate. There you go. The late streams are the way forward. Liking these evening streams, says Toffee Goals. Nice one. I appreciate it. The evening streams are certainly the way forward. Anyway, let's get into some of the rumours. As I said, there haven't been a lot of rumours over the last 24, 48 hours or so. Leicester are playing Tottenham as well, so there you go. Again, Leicester are a decent side, but, oh, sorry, that was the Everton interview. Hopefully they don't copyright me. Let's get into, as I said, there's been a couple of rumours, not an awful lot, but there has been a couple over the last 24 hours or so. One of them regarding Wayne Rooney and Frank Lampard, and this one comes from The Telegraph, and it states that Wayne Rooney and Frank Lampard are under strong consideration by Farhad Moshiri and Bill Kenwright for the Everton job. If Wayne Rooney and Frank Lampard are under strong consideration for the Everton job, then I would like to hope Duncan Ferguson is under strong consideration as well. Listen, again, out of all of the three, I think Duncan would be top, Wayne would be second, and Lampard would be third. I wouldn't be massively opposed to Lampard. I think there's worse options out there. I think there's better options out there. If we go for Lampard, then I'm sort of sitting here thinking, why not just give it to Dunk or Rooney? And some people would say, don't be stupid, Lampard's got more experience than Dunk has as a manager. He has, but he's got no experience being in the situation Everton are in, and he's got no experience with this current squad, and he doesn't know this current squad. Rooney is a manager that I think if he come in, there would be a potential of maybe somebody like Duncan Ferguson staying at the football club and being able to work with Wayne Rooney. He's a well-respected well-respected figure in football. England's most highest goal scorer, and in my opinion, the best ever player to ever play for England. And as I said, doing an absolutely unbelievable job at Derby, an unbelievable job there. If we could get Wayne Rooney in, again, I would be happy with that. I would be happy with that. Is it a risk? Of course, it's a risk. It would be a risk, but he's an Evertonian. As I said yesterday, one thing we couldn't say if Rooney was to come in or Dunk is that when they're on that sideline, they don't care about the result. They don't care about what happens. They don't care about, winning. Rooney also has spent a lot of his career working under the manager that a lot of people would consider the greatest of all time in Sir Alex Ferguson. And he, again, some people will say that doesn't matter, but it does matter, doesn't it? Because you learn from managers like that. You learn what team talks you need to implement, how you need to treat certain players. Some players might need an arm around them. Some players might need harsh treatment. And you learn a lot from working under arguably the greatest manager of all time. And Rooney is implementing a lot of that into a Derby side who started the season, I think, with only 9 first-team players and a 26-point deduction or whatever it was. And are now, had they not had that point deduction, which was nothing to do with Wayne Rooney, would be in the playoff places, fighting for a place in the Premier League. So, again, lost Phil Jagielka last week. Their best defender, their most solid defender, come out and beat Hull 2-0 away from home, I believe, literally 3 days later. That's something that this Everton team couldn't fucking do. We couldn't go to Hull and beat them convincingly with the squad we've got. So, Wayne is certainly a name that, again, I would welcome. Lampard, I wouldn't be over the moon with, but given we've just been linked with Roberto Martinez for 3 days straight, I would probably welcome as well. Well, I'd welcome anyone, but I'd be happier. Frank Wood, what a name, Frank Wood, has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, Frank. Really, really do appreciate that. If you want to become a member, it's the join button next to the subscribe button. It's 99p because it's the cheapest I could make it. And we are actually looking to do, I put this out on the members only tab the other day, we're looking to do some members only live streams and members only videos, and not videos, but just a little thing to say thank you for every now and then for the members. So as I said, it's the cheapest I could get it. There's not much benefit to it, but it's just a little financial way to support the channel if you enjoy this. You don't have to, I'm not going to ask you to, but it is there. Just thought I'd let you know. But if you are new and you're wondering how else to support the channel, if you could hit that subscribe button and that like button, that would be amazing. That's absolutely free and helps out the channel massively as well. But yeah, as I said, interesting that they're under strong consideration. And it would be really, really interesting to see if Duncan Ferguson is under strong consideration as well, because I would like to hope that he is. Because if anybody should be under strong consideration, I would think it would be Duncan Ferguson. Another rumour that was really, really interesting that I've literally just read as I've come out of boxing, and this one for me is more exciting than any of the managerial rumours that we've heard over the last few days or so. And this is according to 90 Min, so take with however many pinches of salt you would like. It's not The Athletic, it's not Sky Sports, it's not anybody massive, but this rumour has been floating about a couple of times over the last day or so, and this particularly is coming from 90 Min, and they have said that Everton are interested in Brighton and Hove Albion technical director Dan Ashworth. Now, that would be an absolute coup and a half if ever I've seen one. If we could manage to convince Dan Ashworth to leave Brighton and come and be the technical director or the director of football at Everton, that would be amazing. It would work, though. It would only work under one circumstance. Dan Ashworth could be employed by Everton tomorrow and could fail at Everton. It would only work under one circumstance, and that is that the owner and the chairman allow him to do his job. If the owner and the chairman were to employ Dan Ashworth, pardon me, and allow him to come in and do his job, then I think that could be one of the best decisions that Everton Football Club have made in a long, long time, and probably the best decision that Farhad Moshiri has ever made since joining the football club, because Dan Ashworth is a fantastic technical director, has done a wonderful job at Brighton in getting Brighton to where they are now, has got a fantastic relationship with Graham Potter, and Graham Potter comes out often and talks, very positively about Dan Ashworth and what he does for the football club and how big of an impact that he has on the football club. Dan Ashworth has been known in the past, and even I think on BT Sport, literally done a 10-15 minute conversation about Brighton and where they want to be and where they are and where they're going to get to. Everything, that communication that we don't get from Everton. And I just think he's a football fella, and he knows football. He understands what it takes to, I suppose, build a football club. And some people would say, behave, Cam, he's the technical director at Brighton. What if they won? Why have they been successful? But for Brighton's terms, to get to the Premier League and to stay in the Premier League for as long as they have, that is success for Brighton, in my opinion. And for Dan Ashworth to build Brighton up, you're looking at players like Tarek Lamptey, who come in from Chelsea, wonderful player. Yves Bissouma, fantastic player. Players that top Premier League teams are looking at now and wanting to bring in. Players that I would love at Everton, certainly Yves Bissouma, he would be amazing at Everton. Again, responsibility down to Dan Ashworth, the manager, and having so much faith and so much trust in the manager when they could have easily sacked him on a couple of times when it hasn't been going right. Look at how well it's working now. Graham Potter is, I think Pep Guardiola said he's the best English coach on the planet at the moment, and that's coming from Pep Guardiola. So, and Dan Ashworth, as I said, had a lot of involvement in all of that. So, if we were to bring in Dan Ashworth, and as I said, and it was under the circumstance that Farhad Moshiri was going to get his nose out, and so was Bill, and he was going to actually, you know, be allowed to do his job, then I think it would be a fantastic appointment. Now, how much, you know, there is in this rumour, I don't know. Probably, maybe nothing. You know, if Graham Potter's coming out and saying we've got a wonderful structure at the football club, I don't want to leave, then I can only assume Dan Ashworth is thinking the same thing. But you never know. Dan Ashworth might see this as an opportunity to come to let's be honest, a bigger club, with no disrespect to Brighton, and you know, a challenge, and maybe he would want that challenge, and maybe he would accept it. And I dare say Everton would probably be willing to pay a silly amount of money. But as I said, when I seen this, City's come up now. I'm not asking you, City. I'm talking to the team. Go away, City. As I said, if Everton were to pull this off under the circumstance that he would be allowed to do his job, otherwise it'd be pointless, then I would be very, 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 very impressed. Very, very impressed, because I just think he's a fantastic at his job, and I think he could come in and sort Everton out. But as I said, that's probably a little bit unrealistic for the moment, and maybe just a rumour that is being put out there, because Everton can be interested in whoever they want. Ultimately, Everton can be interested in bringing in bloody Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone as the first team managers, but it ain't going to happen, is it? So, you know, but I thought it was an interesting one to have a little talk about, because I think he would be great at Everton. And yeah, we'll wait and see how that develops. Who knows? Literally, we were streaming yesterday, and I think I said at one point in the stream, Everton just need to come out and announce Duncan Ferguson's taking charge of Villa, because it's getting to the point now where nobody knows what's happening, and then they literally 5 minutes later come out and announce Duncan's taking charge of Villa. So if anyone from Everton is watching, go and get give Duncan Ferguson the manager's job, and go and get Dan Ashworth and let him do his job, and yeah, I think we'll look a lot better. But yeah, interesting one. And as for the other rumour, as I said, nothing new there. You know, Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard, two names that have cropped up numerous times over the last 48 hours or so. And, you know, there's absolutely no surprise that they're both under consideration by Everton. So, yeah, interesting one. Davis Purdy has become a member of the channel. Thank you very much, Davis. Really appreciate that, my mate. Thank you very much. Wormy says, I don't think that will help much. Semi might as well kick a dead badger. Semi says, these players need a good... I don't know if I can say that, and hope Dunk does that. Superfly says, Newcastle won him, though. They will blow away Everton financially. Yeah. Maybe. Well, I suppose he mightn't even want to leave Brighton, which I wouldn't blame him for. Savile says, what are your thoughts on Ian Dowie for the job? Not for me. Again, I think it would be Dunk. It would be Dunk for me. And that would, again, I just think it makes the most sense. I just think it makes absolutely the most sense, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Ian Dowie, is he the ex-Southampton player? I don't think he's managing, is he? Or are we talking about somebody else? Rather Ian Dowie than managers, yeah. We're not. Was Carragher in the Toffee TV studio today? He was. He joined for a couple of minutes on their live stream and said, no surprise, that he thinks Big Dunk should take over. So yeah, go and watch that part, and you'll find that out. As for why he was there, other than that, I don't know. I wasn't in today. USA Toffee, what's happening, mate? He says, Cam, what do you think the rest of the transfer window looks like for us now? Very, very difficult to tell. Very, very difficult to tell. We know the club, we think the club are still targeting a central midfielder, which is interesting and is right. But we don't... Sorry, Cam, I was just kidding, says Savile. Sorry, I got confused there. We don't know. We don't know, ultimately. I would like to hope that business could still be done in these types of circumstances, and especially if Dunk come in, then business could be done, couldn't it? Because Dunk will know what the team needs and what the team has needed for a while, because he's been here for a while. But we'll wait and see. Adam C says, honestly, I'd rather have Big Sam than half these candidates. 30 Harry would be my choice, says Philip. Semi says Carragher magically appeared. Hilarious. Yeah, it was Boss. It was Boss, wasn't it? Our comments, who reads those, like, I'm getting into them, mate, I'm getting into them. Anyone watched All or Not on Spurs? Very insightful. Not yet, I haven't, but I've seen clips from it. Is right, Mike, same players, says Semi. Mike says, I think Duncan could be a great manager, but I also know this squad could bury him down. They could, but I think that he would be the first manager who fans would completely go against the squad for. You know, again, we all know that there's a lot of players at this club that shouldn't be here, but the manager gets a lot of the brunt of the blame when things don't go right. I think if it didn't go right for Duncan, it was evident that the players were down in tools or not working hard enough. I don't think fans would stand for that. Semi says, to be fair, the guest name was in the comments, but I didn't read the comments, just went to the stream. It was Frank. I think I even said it literally at the start of the stream. Do you think Dunk would use Holgate as a third centre mid, says Emmy? No. Whammy says, you would be having your day made a lot better with our defence, Phil. Where are we? United just scored. Wow, just seen the Dunk interview on Twitter. Said Adam Key, Boss in it. Was literally in the ICU, my mate. Did you bump into Arsenal for life? Superfly, sorry, says Everton should have gone for Arteta. I'm not convinced. Semi says, just don't get blistered for Cam for not knowing a guest's name if you throw out a super chat. Everton Neville says, I'd never ever back Martinez. If he come back, he could win 10 games on the trot and I'd still want him out. Horrible manager. Fair enough. Membership, get in this, says Semi is right. Mitchell says, David Moyes wasn't an Evertonian, mate. You've got to swipe Ken Wright's an idiot. And so is Macheri. Yeah. I agree. And again, if there was a manager that I think could come in and do a job that David Moyes done, then absolutely sound. But out the list, who is that manager? Yeah, bit of a mad comment from Superfly there, but we'll move on. Doswick says, I watch quite a lot of Bayern's games, and honestly, I wouldn't want us to sign Kovac. He's what I would call a lumberjack manager. He was a lumberjack player himself. He can't reinvigorate the offence. Interesting knowledge there. I don't watch a lot of Bayern, to be honest, but I know some bits from what I've read and heard and stuff about Kovac. But yeah, interesting. He won the league with Bayern, didn't he? But I think I could win the league with this Bayern team. I think he openly basically just got rid of Thomas Muller from the team and the squad for what I have read is practically no reason, which was a little bit of a mad decision considering Thomas Muller is Bayern through and through and a very good footballer. Wenger is the answer, says Superfly, not for me. Chris says, a lot of people mention experience when it comes to a manager. How do you get experience? Someone has to give you a go, yeah. Mike says, agree, Cam, I don't want to see Jose at the club. Let's see how this killer squad react to Dunk. Whammy says, all good, just in time for Everton 16th in the Premier, giggling like schoolgirls over some training bollocks. They all need to wake up. Mitchell says, there isn't one manager in our knowledge with less experience. Interesting. Superfly says, would people like Wenger? No. Cam Big Duncan's an Everton legend, says Tuesday. Semi says, when the journeyman Mourinho takes over, it takes us down. And EFC Lisa says, our board are clueless. Ball bags are Dunkers are gaffer. Let's keep it Dunk and Bainesy, see how they go. Loving the late laughs as well, Cam. Thank you very much, Lisa. Really appreciate it. And Chris says, I like most pundits. I like how most pundits, most fans, basically most of the football in Wales are saying give Duncan going our own and is looking at Macheri. Shock horror. Yeah. Well, it is. It is a shock horror, isn't it? And testicles has become... I've just noticed that testicles is testicles, isn't it? But there you go. He has become a member of the channel, and he also says, just sub, mate. Thanks for your content. Thank you very much, my mate. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the subscription as well. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then because it's getting on now, and I haven't even had my tea because I've literally just walked in from boxing. Once again, a massive, massive thank you to everybody for all of the support on the live stream. I really, really do appreciate it. Honestly, it means a massive, massive amount to me. Big thanks to everybody for getting in the live comments. Sorry we couldn't get involved with them all. Pardon me. But I really do appreciate it, and thank you all so much. If you watch this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can. And yeah, we'll get involved with them. Testicle says, worth £1 every month, Camlad. Thank you very much, my mate. Mike says, all formations are flexy, depending on football brain. 4-4-2 can be offensive, yeah. Wow, Spurs just scored 2 in the last minute, says Philip. So what score is it now? Is it 3-2, 4-2? 3-2? Wow, they have 95th and 97th minutes. They even big one after coming on in the 79th minute and they're trying to sell him. Very, very interesting. Leicester bottling it again. United are 2-0 up. Interesting stuff. Anyway, yeah, look, that is going to be it then. Doswick says I'm also having my tea right now. My Everton spoon is right. Cheers, Cam says Phil, take care. My Blues, the semi-blue crew is right. Big thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please hit that like button. We will be back tomorrow with another Everton manager update, so join us for that one as well. We'll do it late-ish again, live again, so more people can get involved. But anyway, massive thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, leave it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.